Tanse, I'm Christian Ashkate. Welcome to APTN National News. Thank you for joining us. The Ontario Provincial Police have opened up an investigation in Pikangikum First Nation after an infant died over the weekend. The OPP says the child passed away on Sunday in a Winnipeg hospital. They say last Wednesday, the OPP responded to a report of an incident that caused an infant to go into medical distress, and the child was taken to the local clinic and then transported to Winnipeg. The OPP's Criminal Investigation Branch has now taken over the case with the help of Manitoba's Chief Medical Examiner. If anyone has information about this incident, you're asked to contact the OPP or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. Pikangikum is a fly-in community located about 230 kilometers north of Kenora. A state of emergency has been lifted for the Pikangikum First Nation in Manitoba as a wildfire over the weekend is finally under control. Some Pikangikum First Nation residents are now being allowed to return home on Wednesday after wildfires forced hundreds to evacuate. However, evacuees who were in the direct path of the fires can't come home just yet, as those homes still need to be assessed for smoke damage. There were a total of 350 evacuees previously staying in Selkirk in Winnipeg while fire crews fought the fires. Only one home was lost, along with several garages and sheds. The Interlake Reserves Tribal Council says an ATV started the fire. The chief says both a fire ban and ATV ban remain in effect in Pikangikum.
The risk for fires remains high. But the fire crews do have things under control, and preventive steps are being taken for both home and community should a fire sweep through your area. So steps are being taken to shield or protect your property. The fire ban is still in effect, so no open fires. This will be in place until further notice. The ban on ATVs is still in effect.
As of 10 a.m. this morning, the Chief and Council of Opaskwayak Cree Nation in northwestern Manitoba are saying a wildfire in the area continues to burn but is 90% contained thanks to the help of helicopters and water bombers. This video was captured last night from Big Eddy Hill overlooking the Bracken Dam. Fire crews from the town of The Paw and Opaskwayak remain on scene putting out hotspots. Opaskwayak leadership says there is currently no danger to its citizens. However, residents are asked to be on alert with an increase of smoke in the area. A fire ban there remains in effect. In James Smith Cree Nation in Saskatchewan, wildfires there have been burning out of control. Flames have destroyed 3 homes and forced many people to evacuate. CTV's Jasmine Pelche reports.
A cloud of smoke covered the James Smith Cree Nation on Saturday, about 60 kilometers east of Prince Albert. Firefighters from Canistino, Melfort, Garden River, and Muscadet were dispatched to the scene to respond to the wildfire. 3 homes were destroyed in the flames, and over 30 people have been forced to evacuate.
In the past 2 to 3 years, we've been seeing these getting bigger and bigger on each community. Year today, May 9th, we had our own event out here where it burnt over 1,400 acres. And there too, we had a lot of agencies on scene.
The teams worked with the Saskatchewan First Nations Emergency Management Group and the Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency to fight the fire that has been contained as of Monday. Nearby areas, including the RM of Canistino, Big River, and Meadow Lake, have triggered fire bans. The James Smith Cree Nation Office of the Chief released a community safety message urging everyone to be cautious of all potential hazards, including barbecues, cigarettes, and fireworks. Fire Chief Bear warns the public not to burn into the wind.
It seems to be a growing trend with the drier springs that we've been having. Lack of moisture, the snow's not really leaving much moisture behind. The rains are delayed and the winds are picking up quite a bit more, which adds to the fires as well.
The James Smith Cree Nation has put out a call for clothing and shoe donations for families affected by the fire. Jasmine Pelche, CTV News, Prince Albert.
Now to Vancouver, where the families of Tatiana Harrison, Chelsea Porman, and 13-year-old Noelle Osoup are demanding an inquiry into how police in the coroner's office handled all 3 cases. A warning: some viewers may find some of the content in this story disturbing. APTN's Tina House reports.
On this National Red Dress Day, Justice for Girls, along with the Union of BC Indian Chiefs, are standing in solidarity with the families of 20-year-old Tatiana Harris, 13-year-old Noello Soup, and 24-year-old Chelsea Poorman. All three cases police deemed not suspicious after their remains were found in what the families are saying are highly suspicious circumstances.
Now let me talk about my baby. I miss my baby girl. Okay. Sorry, give me a second. I miss my baby girl. She is such an intelligent little light, and I feel sorry for anybody who didn't get to meet her.
Natasha Harrison is the mother of 20-year-old Tatiana Harrison, who went missing in 2022. Last seen at the Grand Union pub in the downtown east side of Vancouver. Tragically, Tatiana was found one day before she was officially reported missing on a dry docked yacht in Richmond, BC. However, it took 3 months to identify her. Police ruled it not suspicious and claimed she died of a fentanyl overdose. A coroner later determined she died of sepsis. However, the family pushed back and demanded another look at the coroner's report.
And on behalf of Natasha Harrison, we obtained an independent second review and opinion from a well-respected and licensed forensic pathologist into the death of Tatiana Harrison. Upon review of the forensic evidence made available to him by the BC coroner, the pathologist disagrees with their findings on her cause of death and concluded that there is no compelling evidence that Tatiana died of sepsis. Furthermore, it is his opinion that the manner of her death should be ruled as undetermined.
Sue Brown is with Justice for Girls. She says RCMP relied on the coroner's report to deem Tatiana's death not suspicious. However, this latest finding contradicts their first and second statement of how she died.
This is the second time her family has received information that calls the coroner's investigation into question. Initially, the coroner told the family that her death was due to fentanyl overdose in 2022, with no explanation as to why her cause of death changed to sepsis 6 months later. Her family learned that no rape kit had been done during her autopsy, despite the fact that Tatiana was found partially naked on a dry docked yacht with no explanation of how she got there, with whom she was with, or why she was there.
Joining Natasha Harrison is Josie August, the aunt of 13-year-old Noello Soup. She ran away from a group home and was later found deceased in a small room rented by a serial predator. Her family says Noelle was failed by the Ministry of Children and Families and the Vancouver Police for what they say is the mishandling of her case. And for the family of 24-year-old Chelsea Poorman, who went missing in September of 2020, she went missing from downtown Vancouver. Her body was later discovered outside a vacant mansion on Vancouver's west side. Her family have still not received the coroner's report in her death. Justice for Girls, the Union of BC Indian Chiefs, and the families are calling upon the BC government to launch a coroner's inquest into all three cases. Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
One day after Natasha Harrison, the mother of Tatiana Harrison, spoke out at that news conference, BC's chief coroner announced they are reopening the investigation. A coroner's inquest into the case will also be done. Previously, police considered Tatiana Harrison's death as not suspicious, but her mother still had so many questions into what happened, including a sexual assault kit not done when Harrison's remains were found. More information on the inquest will be provided in the coming weeks. An update now to a story APTN National News originally broke back in April of 2023. Following an incident involving an Indigenous teenage girl and the RCMP, a use of force investigation was launched by an independent third party. Now, the results of that investigation have been released. APTN Sarah Connors was the first to report on that story. Here she is with the new details.
A dislocated kneecap, a torn ACL, and major bruising. They're just some of the injuries a then 17-year-old Inuktitut girl sustained in an altercation with the RCMP back in April 2023.
So we were just appalled, and I was just sick to my stomach.
The incident took place here at this alleyway, where police were called about an intoxicated woman. But less than a minute after police arrived, the girl was arrested for causing a disturbance. She resisted, and while being forced into the back of a police vehicle, her leg became trapped in the car's wheel well, causing it to break. She was then taken to jail before being treated for her injuries. The girl was never charged with the crime.
It was quite horrific to hear the incident that had happened in Whitehorse with my niece. I was absolutely disgusted.
That incident was the subject of a use of force investigation by the Alberta Serious Incident Response Team, or ASIRT. A report on the independent investigation was released last week. It found the available evidence shows the arresting officers were unaware the girl's leg was trapped and concluded they're not criminally liable for her injuries. But the girl's family feels that's an injustice, and the arresting officers should face harsher consequences.
Is that how we're treating children in 2025? Children. And it's so disgusting, and I don't see how this could actually be accepted.
Their initial reaction and response should have been much different from the beginning.
This Justice for Girls advocate agrees. She feels the officers acted unreasonably and caused serious physical harm in the process.
She should have been taken to a hospital. She shouldn't have been going into a place of detention as a 17-year-old Indigenous girl.
While the report didn't find the officers criminally responsible, it did take issue with their professionalism during the arrest, noting, "It is clear from the video that the girl was in pain and had been injured seriously, and by their actions, the subject officers knew this too. While their delay in seeking medical attention for the girl was not significant enough to attract criminal liability, they still should have sought medical attention immediately." And a quick arrest of a youth for a minor offense that results in a broken bone does not serve the public trust in the same way that careful and thoughtful community policing does. As for the family of the girl at the center of the incident, they say she's been left emotionally traumatized and now grapples with mobility issues.
I feel like she's going to be carrying this for the rest of her life, and she's not going to be able to lead a normal life because of what they did to her.
The report states matters of discipline are outside of ASART's mandate and therefore left to the RCMP. The Yukon RCMP said in a statement to APTN National News it's reviewing the report's findings and will be considering next steps, but did not give us a timeline. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
Talks of Alberta separating from Canada continue this week. You'll hear what the local chiefs have to say about it when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Alberta, there is a chance a separation referendum could be in the cards for next year, though a vote would just be the beginning of a drawn-out political and legal battle. For one, there are major constitutional hurdles that would involve treaty rights, and Alberta chiefs who are already calling the entire proposition ridiculous. CTV's Tim Brooke explains.
Just hours after Alberta's treaty chiefs held an emergency meeting, they had a united message for a premier flirting with the idea of separation.
We're not going anywhere. And if you feel that you have problems with First Nations, you could leave.
Danielle Smith's talk of a potential Alberta separation referendum in 2026 has Indigenous leaders furious. Some have even threatened to stop any energy development and exploration on their lands until their voices are heard.
This is treaty country, and any talk of separation is really insanity.
The reality is, the chiefs' concerns will need to be heard in any separation conversation. And that's because the entire province is made up of treaty territory or national parks. Keep in mind, the logistics of Quebec separation took decades to finalize before fizzling. And since then, Canada has only further acknowledged Indigenous people have the right to self-determination.
The treaties are binding legal promises between the Crown and Indigenous peoples. So in order to get the consent of Indigenous peoples, they would have to agree to walk away from that.
And that's a conversation that can't happen until the House of Commons has a say, and at least 2/3 of Canadian provinces representing at least half of the population would need to be on board.
Those next steps probably involve some kind of dramatic constitutional change, either Alberta becoming a fully separate country or some kind of new form of association.
Not to mention court challenges over our share of the national debt and new trade relationships.
It's really not within the realm of possibility.
Despite the challenges, the Premier won't speculate on the feasibility of the entire venture.
I don't have answers to those questions because until we see an actual active question and an active petition campaign, it really is just hypothetical.
Perfect. Thank you. And that's our time for today.
Tim Brooke, CTV News, Calgary.
Two First Nations located in northern Quebec want better protection of the woodland caribou. The feds agree, but the province of Quebec does not. Both Essapit First Nation and Mastoyach First Nation are not satisfied with the response from the Quebec government. As APTN Savannah Craig reports, Essapit has submitted new documents to court to try and apply more pressure on Quebec to act.
I am in the process of issuing an emergency order to protect the caribou.
This is what then Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault told APTN News in March when asked if the feds will intervene to protect the woodland caribou. For Essapit and Mastoyach, the protection of the caribou hasn't been addressed fast enough.
Quebec right now is not doing much and it doesn't look good in the near future.
Michael Ross is the Director of Development and Territory for Essapit First Nation. His community submitted new documents to the court on May 1st to request for a mediator to hold Quebec accountable and come to a resolution. Both parties have yet to come to a mutual agreement on how to protect the caribou. Ross says the woodland caribou population has been declining in Quebec since the late 1990s.
With the forestry roads and forestry logging companies coming in, there's less and less good habitat for the caribou to survive. That's why we want to make sure that we're consulted and accommodated to protect what's left of caribou habitat.
This issue has been in the courts since 2022. Quebec has argued protecting the caribou would adversely affect the forest industry. APTN News reached out to Quebec's Minister of Sustainable Development and Environment, Benoit Charette, for a comment, but we did not receive a response. A statement was sent to APTN News on behalf of current Environment Minister Terry Duguid, saying the federal government is committed to investing $100 million in all conservation efforts in the province, which includes protecting the caribou. It states the government is open to investing more and working with both the Quebec government and First Nations to strengthen preservation efforts. An emergency order was announced by the feds in June 2024, but has stalled. There is no word yet on when or even whether a mediator will be appointed. Savannah Craig, APTN National News, Montreal.
We now want to tell you about this week's second web poll question. Over on our website, we ask, should Indigenous communities or organizations turn to the courts to stop Hudson's Bay Company from auctioning off Indigenous ceremonial and sacred items? Your answers are yes, no, or unsure. Go to aptnnews.ca to have your say. The poll section is on the right-hand side of the homepage when you scroll down. When we come back, we'll tell you about a rural school in Saskatchewan that is learning about the treaties in a unique way. Stay with us. Starting on the east, Charlottetown 14, Halifax sunny and 9. Happy Valley Goose Bay 7, Cartwright 4. Quebec City 19, Montreal 17 and rain. Partly cloudy in Toronto at 19, Peterborough 17. Big Trout Lake 0, Sioux Lookout 3. The Paw 9, Norway House 5. 10 in Winnipeg, Gimli 2. 11 in Regina, Saskatoon 15. Stony Rapids 14, La Ronge 14. In the north, Grand Prairie 14, Peace River 16. Medicine Hat 27, Lethbridge 25. Penticton 22, Kamloops 25. Prince George 13, Smithers 11. 9 in Watson Lake, Old Crow 2. 12 in Fort Simpson, 9 in Wati. -8 in Sax Harbor, Polituck -8. Whale Cove 6, Arviat 7 in rain. And Clyde River sunny and -8, Agulik -5. Students and staff at a Saskatchewan elementary school just completed a mural designed around exploring what it means to be treaty people. Now they are sharing that message with the art in a positive way to break down barriers and learn something new from your neighbors. CTV's Mick Favel reports.
Making connections, building relationships, and working towards reconciliation, all through an art project that's now a part of 33 Central School in Fillmore. The students have been working with an Indigenous artist and elders to create this mural, detailing their surroundings in Treaty 4 territory.
I wanted a lasting legacy on the wall that just shows everyone is welcome, and we really do try to honor our commitments to truth and reconciliation. There's so many ways to make connections with our neighbors, and art is a fabulous way to do it.
Since January, nearly every student in the school helped in the painting process. Brianna LaPlante from Fishing Lake First Nation was the artist coordinating the mural.
I wanted to introduce them to more of like the holistic way of learning just by doing and relationship building and talking and laughing. And I want the art in the future to be used as a tool, not only like for storytelling, but also like the story is incomplete without that Indigenous perspective.
This project wouldn't be possible without funding from Sask Arts. Carver says the school has brought their students to Indigenous gatherings in the past, but it can be expensive getting everyone out. Through the mural, cultural lessons and knowledge were brought right to the school, and being part of the creation process is something these students won't soon forget.
I feel like we should have more art like this and appreciate what the treaty people have given us.
I love the painting, and I love it just being like a representation of us coming together, and I love the artist. She's amazing.
There are plans to name the mural and hang it inside of the school to pass the message of reconciliation on to students here for many years to come. It will be used to teach the history of Treaty 4 through the format of oral tradition.
This was a fabulous way to just dip our fingers in and get kids really excited about the process. And I think because all of our students contributed, they feel such ownership over this project, and it's something they're really proud of to be connected with.
And that's your daytime newscast for this Wednesday, May 7th. We're back again for your evening newscast with more stories in a few hours. Please join us then. From all of us at APTN National News, hi miigwech masicho kwana. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next day.